purple haze all in my brain. Lately, things don't seem the same. Acting funny, but I don't know why. Excuse me while I kiss the sky. Man, I used to kiss the sky a lot. In order to enjoy anything, I used to have to drink and get that buzz on, which usually meant once you got that buzz on, especially if it was like a Friday or a Saturday, it meant going to the next level and getting drunk. And I used to do that since the time I was 16. Go out on a summer's night, drink a couple of 40-ounce Budweisers, and get blasted. So since being a teenager, the groove that got dug into that record, that tune that I would play, was so ingrained that you start coming up on your 30s and your 40s and you're still doing the same thing. Because the groove in the record's so deep, the habit so dug in, that to enjoy something, you have to be buzzed. To appreciate something, you have to be high. To have fun, you have to be acting funny, even though you don't know why. Well, you do know why. Because you're pumping yourself full of that juice, full of that purple drink, full of your drug of choice. Here's another lyric, here's another verse. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, who like a roaring lion roams the earth, seeking to devour, seeking to consume, seeking to eat you alive. And so it took a long time to be able to enjoy life without a drink. Now, I was fortunate. I never became an alcoholic to the degree where I needed a drink in order to function. But I would drink 5 times a week. I would drink at least 3 times during the week after work. And I would definitely drink on Saturdays and Sundays. And at least two of those days, 2 of those evenings, I'd be drunk. And this was a habit. And then 8 years ago, struck with a health crisis, diagnosed with cancer, monstrous, vampiric, satanic, Luciferian, parasitic, gargoyle-like, 14-centimeter, grapefruit-sized tumor, found perched on my left kidney. How could I not see that? Because I was enormous. I was, 220 pounds. Actually, I was starting to come down. I was starting to get in better shape. I was probably around 200 pounds when this thing was found. But still, because I was so large, because I love to lift weights, get strong, and eat like an absolute animal, another weakness, another decadence, another depravity, over-consuming food, just massive amounts of food. I would drink, when I would drink, especially on those nights where I'd go out with the boys or I'd go out on the weekend, I'd spend a Saturday and a Sunday, I'd probably consume 8 pints of beer, sometimes 9 pints, maybe even 10 pints of beer. And that wouldn't be enough to knock me out. No, that's how used to drinking I was. But I was so large that you couldn't see this tumor. The crazy thing is, after I was diagnosed and I was like, that's it, I'm done. No more drinking, no more junk food, no more nothing. As I started to get down to around the 170-pound weight, I would lay down because I had a weight. How about this? I had a weight at the time I lived in the UK. And so when you're in the UK, even if you have health insurance, which I had, you're still, that just means that the the doctors that you see. You could see the best doctors, and you could choose what doctors you want to see, and you can go to what hospitals and see whatever, you can see whatever specialist you want to see. You had the choice when you have insurance. Otherwise, you're on the National Health Service, the NHS. They make the choice who you see. They make the choice, how it all goes down. They make the choice on your course of treatment, everything. I had private insurance. I was fortunate. And so I got to choose the doctors, and I got to choose the hospital, the time, and the place. But that didn't mean I got seen right away. So I had to wait 3 months to have my surgery. So imagine I have this monstrous, like softball, maybe even bigger than a softball size, rock hard tumor sitting on my kidney. I had to wait 3 months to get that removed. Imagine what that does to your psychology when you know you've got this monster inside you, this vampire inside you, this parasite inside you, sucking the life force out of you so that it grows while you weaken. All the time wondering, is it spreading? Can you imagine that? 3 months I had to wait. Okay. But once I got down to about 170 some odd pounds, I would lay down and I would vacuum in my abdomen, and I could finally feel it. And it felt rock hard. I could literally run my hands over it. What a horrible feeling that was. Nevertheless, I would drink just for the purpose of entertainment. That was what drinking was about for me. It wasn't about a addiction such that there was this need where you have to feed that need in order to feel even keel, in order to function, in order to because there are people that drink just to be straight. That's how far down the rabbit hole they've gone, whether that's with drugs or alcohol or you name it. I would drink simply for entertainment. So I didn't have to drink, and if I was doing nothing, and if it was just a regular day or a regular night, no point in drinking, so I didn't drink. Although I did get into the habit, even then from time to time, with a meal, I would have to have a glass of wine because it accentuated the meal. So all these things, but for the most part, I would drink for the purposes of entertainment. So that would mean my wife and I getting together, watching some TV shows on a Saturday or a Sunday. We'd watch all these different TV shows. We'd watch a film. This was usually on a Sunday. And while we're watching, we're drinking. Having a few glasses of wine, having some food. So again, it's all about the experience. Always including some form of alcohol. Okay. And so it took me a long time. So once I was diagnosed with this health crisis, that was it. I put away all things. I found Yahusha. I was fortunate enough to be working alongside an ordained minister. She laid hands on me, and I can't remember now exactly, I believe I said the sinner's prayer with her. And she ushered me into the kingdom to come. She introduced me to Yahusha. And it's been a journey since then. Since then, I've gone through so much of a catharsis. I'm a completely different person. I'm changed. Psychologically, I'm stronger than ever. Physically, I'm stronger than ever. Healed by the grace of Yahusha in all ways. Healed, truly healed. I've been monitored over the past 8 years. I've had more scans than you can imagine. MRIs every 4 months, sometimes every 3 months, every 6 months, you name it. I've seen it all. I've had things show up, spots, lesions show up, boom, gone, disappeared. I've described this before, so if you want to hear all about it, look at some of my older messages where it says in the title, healed, and you'll hear everything that I've gone through. And right, healed in all ways by Yahusha. Healed from anger, healed from jealousy, healed from envy, healed from being immoral, unethical, healed from drugs, healed from alcohol, healed from despair, healed from depression, healed from anxiety, healed from frustration, healed from longing, healed from thirsting, healed from hungering, healed from the never-ending quest of chasing my tail, of devouring everything on my path to get ahead, looking for power, looking for money, looking for material things, looking for the rewards, that the riches of this earth, endlessly seeking, chasing my tail for the esteem of man, for the glory of man. All of those things healed from dishonesty, healed from gossip, healed from negative thoughts, healed from negative energy, healed from all the bad habits that every single one of us have. Every single one of us. We're all fallible. We're all human. We're all full of mistakes. We all wander in darkness until we find Yahuwah, Yahusha. On my knees for the past 8 years, I've gone through an incredible catharsis. I am changed and healed in every way imaginable, mindset-wise. I've always had a positive mindset, but that positive mindset was always to the betterment of climbing to the top of a mountain peak in search of a goal, in search of a target, only to find when I got there, I didn't have the answers. Only to find when I got there, I didn't get the keys. Only to find when I got there, I wasn't happy with what I attained. Because every time you get to the top of a mountain in search of the esteem of man, in search of power, in search of glory, in search of material wealth, as soon as you get to the top of the mountain, you find you're at the bottom of another. Forced to climb it again, forced to run on the endless hamster wheel, forced to run on the endless treadmill, never getting out of the cycle, always, it never ends, chasing our tail in a circle, ad infinitum. But in Yahuwah, Yahusha, I store up my riches in the kingdom to come, and I serve him in all ways, I dedicate my life, and through this catharsis, ever since that time, over 8 years ago, on that journey, walking in his light, walking in his grace, walking in his glory, loving Yahuwah with all my heart, soul, mind, and strength, loving my fellow man as I love myself, only even reading about the good news, only even reading about the new covenant over the past couple of years, and really just diving in deep into nourishing my soul with the word, with the phrases, with the parables of Yahusha and of the apostles, only really diving in for that spiritual education, that spiritual nourishment, only over the past year. So this has been a journey for me over the past 8 years, ever since I had my moment, that, as they say, that come to Yahusha moment, where I came face to face with my Creator, and I got on my knees. And ever since then, it's been this journey, but healed in all ways. Healed of drinking, healed of doing any drugs, healed of any type of illicit entertainment, healed of any type, just healed over and over and over again, healed of jealousy, envy, anger. Does that mean I don't stumble here and there? Well, I'll tell you what I don't stumble with. I never, ever stumble with diet, with eating wholesome foods, never stumble with that, because this is the temple, and I will not dishonor the temple that the Ruach, the breath of Yahuwah, dwells in. Never, ever will I do that. Never, not in the past over 8 years. I don't stumble with drink. I haven't had a drink in over 2 years. I definitely don't stumble with drugs. That was never really a big problem of mine. I partook occasionally, but that was never an issue for me. It was alcohol. Where do I stumble? Like any human, I have emotions. So like any human, I'm quick-tempered. Some of us aren't, some of us are. We all have for some people it's jealousy, for some people it's envy, for some people it's grief, for some people it's anger. One of my weaknesses is to have a quick temper. I'm a hair trigger, right? I get that rage inside. I don't lash out, but I could be ill-tempered, and I could yell, and I could bellow. That's me. I blow my top, but I've gotten so much better at that. Gotten so much better at that temper thing. Nevertheless, it took a long time for me to get to a place where I could appreciate life, where I could find life interesting, all moments of life. It took me a long time to be able to find joy in just being in nature, just living. Find joy in that without having a buzz, without catching a buzz. Because everything, when I would drink, or occasionally if I would get high, everything seemed more interesting, which is why I drank, for the purposes of entertainment. So when I didn't do that anymore, everything just seemed kind of black and white. I didn't have those, that's why they call it highs, right? I I was never one to get into deep depressions, ever. So I've been fortunate. Praise Yahuwah. Praise Yahuwah. I was fortunate enough to never have deep lows. Yeah, I'd feel an ounce of sorrow here and there. But what I definitely wouldn't feel were supreme highs. The only time I'd feel a supreme high, because I was an addict to the flesh in exercise. And so I would get deep into exercise. That was my high. So I was getting my highs elsewhere, right? It's a much better place to get your highs when you're on an 8-mile run, 7-mile run. I used to do a 7-mile run. Every single day I would do a 7-mile run. For a long time I was running. Why was I running? I was running for the endogenous chemicals the endogenous blood chemicals, the endorphins, the epinephrines, all of the natural morphines that the body kicks out when you go deep, deep, deep into exercise. That's why I worked out, for pleasures of the flesh. Raises the mood. So it's wonderful, yes, but again, I was doing it for the flesh. Now I don't do it. I don't do it for that. Now I do it to connect with Yahuwah, Yahusha, and the feeling that I get from working out, the robustness, the dynamism, and the hardening of the temple, the strengthening of the temple, that's all a side effect. But working out and training hard, that allows me to get into flow state. That allows me to make a strong connection with Yahuwah, Yahusha, and ruminate, contemplate, and meditate. In the moments where I'm deep into the training, I can really connect and have those important conversations with Yahuwah, Yahusha. And I can get deep into thought on the parables, on the phrases, on the word that I nourish myself with from the good news. And that word, it takes on new meaning. It takes on new layers. It takes on new significance when you're deep in flow state. So that's why I do it now. But again, nevertheless, it took me. So life was very black and white for a while. And it's only been recently, again, over the past maybe year or couple of years, where I've been able to appreciate all aspects of life. Completely sober, completely straight edge. And I could find joy now in a flower or a blade of grass or the sunshine hitting my face. I could find such deep meaning in all of it now. And I also understand that if you're deep into a life of pleasure seeking, such as I was, a life of hedonism, a life of gluttony like I was, you may not be, and I don't want to come off as preaching to you that you need to get sober, that you need to cut out all drinking and drugging and partying and whatever it is you're doing. That's not what I'm saying, okay? I'm not here to preach that to you because I was you. If that's what you're doing, I was you. And if someone was telling me this, I wouldn't listen to them because I'm on my own journey, I'm on my own path, I'm on my own adventure. So I'm not having it, I'm not listening to you. The thing about what I'm saying is, none of this is going to matter, what I'm telling you, unless you're ready to hear it. None of it. Unless you're being called by Yahuwah, you're not going to receive the word. So it doesn't matter what I say. But if what I'm saying is clicking, if what I'm saying is resonating, then praise Yahuwah, Yahusha. Because if you're picking up that frequency, don't let it go. Hold on and receive the word. You change your life. But it took me a long time to get to that place now where I appreciate because I know, look, here's the thing. I'm not of this world any longer, but I'm still in this world. And while I'm in this world, I can now appreciate the beauty that Yahuwah has created for the beauty that it is. And I no longer see. I no longer am misled. I'm no longer deceived by the adversary, by Hashatan, by Lucifer, by the demons of this world, by the negative influencers, by the psychic vampires, by the evil whisperers, by the corrupters, by the deceivers, by the evildoers, by those who would look to persuade and influence us off the path of righteousness and redemption. I'm no longer, and that's what that verse in Peter book 1, chapter 5 is telling us. He's saying, so he's adding a new layer, which I can tell you is absolutely ingrained in our DNA, absolutely matter of fact true. This adds a new element to not getting high, to not drinking, to not partying, to not devolving into depravity and decadence. And that is to be sober because you can be vigilant. And being vigilant You can reject. You can fight off the roaring lion that is the adversary who roams this land in an absolute foaming at the mouth, rabid frenzy, seeking to devour, to consume you. Because when you are drunk, when you are high, you can't be vigilant. You got a purple haze all in your mind. You don't know whether you're up or down. You're acting funny, but you don't know why, right? You're too busy kissing the sky, and you can't see straight. Everything is just absolutely distorted for your own entertainment, for your own escapism, for your own liberation from this harsh, cold, dark reality that you find yourself in. But all you're really doing is weaving yourself in closer to this hallucination, to this mirage, to this false reality that we call life. You know, you're not seeing the beauty behind the illusion. You're not seeing the zeros and ones for what it is. You know, in that film, I won't say the name of it, you know, the one with Keanu Reeves, the one where the machines have taken over, right? You know that film? You see behind the illusion, you see where Neo lives in the real. It's all desolation, it's all dystopian, it's all dark, it's all destruction, it's all ruled by machines. You see what's behind the illusion. Here's what's behind this illusion is the beauty of Yahuwah. Is the beauty of his salvation, the beauty of his redemption. Such that you can appreciate the real. You no longer see the mirage, you no longer see the oasis, what's disguised and looks like fresh water in a desert, which is really nothing more than defilement and decadence and depravity and debasement and absolute besodden, soaked, drowning in sin and lust, in greed and temptation, in jealousy and envy. It has you chasing your tail for cheap highs, cheap thrills, cheap titillation. That's all disguised as jewels, as sparkles, as baubles, as bedazzlement, to distract you from the true beauty that is Yahuwah, Yahusha, and the universe that he created, and the world that he created. The problem is that Lucifer, that fallen, sick angel, that absolute decadent and depraved being, along with 200 other fallen angels, were absolutely wrecked, shipwrecked upon this planet, and sought to lord over us. And the father of filth, the father of lies, Hashatan himself, along with his minions, spin a web of lies and deceit, hallucinations and mirages, so they can devour you. Because they love to render Yahuwah's creation corrupt in order to wound Yahuwah, in order to insult Yahuwah. Because they can't touch Yahuwah, but what they can do is they can touch us. If we allow them, they can corrupt us, they can deceive us, they can poison us, and they can destroy us. And in so doing, they get their vengeance upon Yahuwah. But they can no longer do that when Yahuwah, manifested in the flesh, sacrificed everything so that we may live, while those demons want to see us sacrificed, tormented, tortured, as Yahusha was tormented and tortured. They want to see us broken apart into pieces, torn to shreds, in despair, in sorrow, in self-hatred, in hatred against each other, in violence against each other, in a pell-mell, frenzied, chaotic state, full of depravity and decadence, so they may live, because misery loves company. But they can no longer touch us, and they can no longer corrupt us in their evil ways, such that they can get pleasure, because they can't harm Yahuwah, but in harming us, we act as a proxy for Yahuwah, because we were created in his image. So in corrupting and destroying us, they get their pleasure. They are miserable. And again, misery loves company. But they cannot, once we have received the word. And what is the word? It is love Yahuwah, given to us by Yahusha. Yahuwah manifested in the flesh, who walked among us, saw our hatred, saw our problems, saw us for all our fallibility, all our mistakes, all our evil idolatry, all the ways in which we've been misled, all of our drunkenness, all of our absolute depravity. And yet, instead of having us wiped out, found us, even though we know we're not worthy, he found us worthy. And so he was willing to suffer all manner of torture and torment so that we may live, while these demons want to see us tortured and tormented, sacrificed and die, perish in the flesh as we drown in quicksand of temptation and indulgence and lust, so that they may get joy and so they may live, because that's the only way that they can live. But they can't touch us. They can't touch us, because in wearing the helmet of salvation, in donning the armor of Yahuwah, which is in all faith in Yahuwah, in being redeemed by Yahusha, by receiving the word, by asking for his grace, by asking for salvation, by knocking on that door and instantly having it answered, and instantly our hearts being flooded by the Ruach, the breath of Yahuwah, we can now walk in the light. We can walk in Yahuwah, Yahusha, and be guided by the Ruach, the set-apart spirit, so that we now walk the path of righteous. Our heart is righteous now. It's emblazoned with the living law, no longer with the perishing law, the law that's written on stone, the law that fades, the law that reveals nothing but sin, and the law that doles out nothing but punishment on that stone which fades, just like our soul fades, just like our bodies fade. We are bound to the stone, and we begrudgingly follow the commandments because it doles out punishment. But that is meant for unbelievers and the unfaithful, because when you are saved by Yahuwah, Yahusha, the living law is emblazoned on your heart, and we have everlasting life, such that the living law has everlasting life. And in having that everlasting life, the law lives forever, and we now follow it not begrudgingly, not because we would receive punishment, but now because we receive his healing, his love, his joy, his redemption, his everlasting life. And so all is received. Everything you've ever asked for, everything you've truly ever needed. The only reason you chase your tail on this planet, living by the sweat of your brow, which you think means absolutely cannibalizing, clawing, and scratching, in order to gain material wealth, in order to gain the esteem of man, in order to gain power over your neighbor, or to absolutely dominate this planet, so that you have nothing. That's not what you're seeking. You're seeking none of that. All the things you're truly seeking, which you think these things will give you, which is healing, love, joy, redemption, you don't receive from any of the man-made things that this world spins, that this world creates. No, it's found in salvation from Yahuwah, Yahusha. That is the way to eternal healing, eternal love, eternal joy, and eternal deliverance into his kingdom to come, where your heart is set free, where your heart soars like the eagles, where your heart is unbound, where your heart is full of his love and his light. And so now you follow the word, you follow the commandment as a matter of being compelled, as a matter of nature, because it's natural to do so, because you have everything you need, you've received everything and more, and all the answers have been revealed to you. All the answers you sought. What is your meaning? What is your purpose? Why are you here? All of it answered. So you have everything you could have ever asked for that you sought by chasing your own tail on this planet, following the hallucination, the rules and traditions of man that got you nowhere but bereft and disappointed and frustrated and anxious and full of sorrow. No, now you have everything and more, such that your cup runneth over, and you want to share the good news. You're shouting it from the rooftops. And we know the word. That word now, it's emblazoned on our heart. Love Yahuwah with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love our fellow men as we love ourselves. And that is the fountain from which all knowledge, all good knowledge, all wholesome knowledge, all productive knowledge, all good deeds, all good actions, all wonderful things that please Elohim, that please the Most High, that please Yahuwah, all things spring from that simple commandment. Everything, if that's the word, that's what you receive. And then you can live the way, the truth, and the life. And in so doing, you have, it's indescribable until you go through this catharsis, but you have complete faith in Yahuwah. And in having complete faith in Yahuwah, you don the armor of the Supreme Elohim. And the demons and evil whisperers of this world that would have you led astray, you are now impregnable. You're now impervious. You're now impenetrable to the spears, the slings, and the arrows that they would thrust upon you. You're untouchable, unconquerable, unstoppable now. But that verse now adds new meaning to why you don't want to let yourself slip. Why you don't want to be decadent and depraved, or suffer from addictions, or suffer from the depravity and debasement of alcohol, of drugs, of cheap thrills, cheap titillation, cheap entertainment, cheap highs. You don't want any of that anymore because you're fulfilled. You're fulfilled in all ways. You need none of it anymore. As I said, you're receiving so much now. You're seeing so much beauty now. You have so much of it, your cup runs over. But in wearing the armor, you're absolutely unassailable. And you don't want there to be fractures in that armor. You don't want to be deluded. And so now it takes on even more meaning, because being sober means being vigilant. Not only can you see not only do you find, the reason you're not doing it is because you don't believe you can find true joy in a simple blade of grass, in a tree, in a blue sky. But you'll find that you can. Oh, you'll find that there's way more beauty, way more joy, way more happiness. Everything is far more interesting and wonderful and bright and beautiful when you see what's behind the darkness of this illusion. And you see the opposite. Even again in that film, the whole inversion of everything is that, oh, in this world everything is beautiful, but it's just a mirage, and in the real world it's dystopian. No, that is also the antithesis. That is also inversion. That is also Hashatan. The truth is that this illusion, which all you see now is despair, depravity, decadence, darkness, lies, mistrust, hatred. That's all you see. But behind this is the beauty of Yahuwah, Yahusha. That's what the zeros and ones mean. That's what you actually see. So, but there is even more meaning in why you want to be sober, because you want to be vigilant. You don't want there to be cracks in the armor. You don't want the purple haze in your mind, because you want to see clearly so you can have that joy, so that you can have that wonderful experience, so that you can see his beauty, so that you can walk in his light, and so that you cannot be devoured and consumed by the adversary, by the roaring lion, because they can't touch us when we wear the helmet of salvation, when we don the armor of Yahuwah in all faith, in all belief, in all love. We wear his armor. We're impregnable. And the Ruach, the most powerful weapon of Yahuwah, the Most High, that lives within us, his breath lives within this temple. And we wield it as a sword, and it dissolves, it destroys, and it obliterates all negative frequencies, all wayward thoughts, all chaotic vibrations, all darkness absolutely destroyed by the light that bursts forth from you and dissolves it. As we walk on this path, strong and true, unstoppable, undeceivable. What's the right word for that? Is it indeceivable? Is it undeceivable? I don't even know. I say so many synonyms that I can't even keep count. But in walking in his light, we also live as an example for others, because we're full of this good news. We're full of this encouragement. We're full of this light. We're full of his love. We're full of his joy. We're alive. Our spirit is animated by the Ruach, the set-apart spirit, the breath of Yahuwah. We are truly encouraged, motivated, inspired, joyous, and others see this. And in just being a child of Yahuwah and living in his light and living in Yahusha and living in the Ruach, just by doing that, those who are lost, we are like a beacon. We are like a lighthouse shining for all those lost out at sea who now know, in seeing you and seeing your joy and seeing your life alive, truly alive for the first time before we are reborn. And now we have true life. We no longer perish like the stone. No, we no longer walk around this planet like the walking dead. Our hearts are no longer calloused over hard. Our souls no longer zombie-like. Now we live. Now our hearts are open. Now our hearts are healed. Now our souls are completely alive. And we are animated by the Ruach. And those who are now where we once were, lost, addicted, bereft, anxious, frustrated, unhappy, seeking, searching, longing, hungering, chasing their tails, always wandering, always endlessly just smashing into walls, stumbling in darkness, depraved, decadent, debased, defiled. They see as we live as an example for them. We're not preaching to them, we're not admonishing them, we're not berating them. No, we're just living in Yahuwah, Yahusha, and in doing so, in straightening out our own lives, in living in true joy, in true salvation, walking in this beautiful, healing, wonderful light of Yahuwah, which destroys and obliterates the darkness, because he is the light of this world, such that the darkness cannot comprehend, the darkness cannot fathom, the darkness cannot overcome. Those who are lost see us. They see that searchlight, and they know that if a wretch, if a wreck, if a misery like me, like you can be saved, then so can they. And so we walk now, vigilant, wearing his armor, wielding the Ruach like a sword, a light that obliterates all darkness in our path. And we move with grace and strength, walking steadfast and taller than ever, ceaseless and relentless, unassailable, unconquerable, undefeatable, undeniable, as we move and groove and speed headlong to kingdom come.